Okay, how to vote. I hope this YouTube clip works. The phone might probably fall over halfway through it. Now, when you go to vote this year, you have several choices. Of course, you've got the upper house, which is the Senate, where the voting rules have changed. You've got the lower house, where I'm running in Makin, and there's several choices, there's several ways you can make a decision. One of the most important things is that you make a decision based on who you trust, who has earned your trust, or that policies might be ideal for you. So you've got a choice in the Makin area of 7 candidates. 6 of those candidates are there to represent their political parties. I'm the independent. That makes it a bit harder for you because the political parties, you probably know most of them. You know what they stand for or don't stand for. And as an independent, really, I have to try and get your trust. So I have to work probably just that little bit harder and explain who I am, what I do. But right now we're here to look at how you have to vote. Now, in the lower house, there'll be 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 candidates in your area. What you have to do is number from 1 till 7 or 1, 2 through to 8. And when you do that, it's very, very important, of course, as to how you vote. There's 3 ways you can look at it. First of all, there's a financial reward from your vote of $2.62. So whoever you vote for is number 1 will get that money if they gain at least 4% of the vote. The second way of looking at it is to look at the candidates themselves and what they stand for, which you can do by Googling their name or my name and a topic or something of concern. And then you can look at the political parties themselves and what they've been offering you or not offering you in the last 20 or 30 years in most cases. That makes it very difficult because most people and the political system is 2-party preferred. So the reporting you see in the paper and in the main media will be 2 parties. That used to be Labor, Liberal, Greens. You may have noticed on Sunday, for instance, in the Sunday Mail, that the lift out that's telling you who's running in your area doesn't mention any of us. It only mentions Labor, Liberal and Xenophon team now, because Xenophon's always voted along the lines of the Greens, so the media have chosen him to be the 3rd option for you. Don't let the media choose who you vote for. I think that's wrong. You can't go by the polls. If a poll's conducted, it will be Labor, Liberal, Greens. New polls may be Labor, Liberal, Xenophon. Very few of those options will give you the independent. The media won't give you the independent at all, to be totally honest. And there's reasons for that, and I won't go right into that. I'm sure you would know the media can be biased at times, but Mr. Murdoch himself's got 883 million reasons to not want people like me in politics. Firstly, he gets that sort of tax break per year, and $883 million will go a hell of a long way to overcoming a lot of problems in our society, from homelessness to mental health to healthcare and services. So Mr. Murdoch wouldn't want someone like me elected because I'd be asking questions as to why he's not paying his fair share of the tax. I think 4.5 billion he's snuck out of the country in the last few years. So obviously Murdoch Press, which is your local messenger and your advertiser, is right behind Xenophon as the 3rd choice at the moment. So, is there a controlling factor? Is there a deal being done? We don't know. So in Makin, I'm the independent. I'd like you to vote for me number 1. I think I've got a lot to offer the area. You then have to choose who you're going to choose as 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th and 7th, of course. If you are looking for change, you'd probably leave the major parties and those with present seats in Parliament lower on the ticket, so you might dislike Labor. I don't like Labor in Adelaide particularly, so I'd probably put them last. I'd then probably put Liberal. I'd probably then put Xenophon. I'd probably then put Australian Justice Party, who are promoting voting for Labor for that same reason. And then I'd probably put at the top myself, obviously I put me number 1, and you could consider Family First, and work your way back down the line. So, but you may have completely alternate views on that, and I could talk about that, and I will later. For instance, sake, what you could probably do if you're not sure is pick a topic that's very important to you, like selling the farm. If you don't want Australia to sell all its farms, and I don't, then I would probably be a very good choice. If, for instance, you love your local council and you'd like them to be empowered by being recognised in the Constitution, I'm the only person I think that's standing against that. So if you were into supporting and empowering and making local councils bigger, then you wouldn't vote for me. If you want the farms to stop being sold and try and claw back and buy them back, well, I'd probably be a great choice. If you were choosing, for instance, say, animal welfare, I'd probably be one of the better choices. Australian Justice Party, probably a bit more libertarian in that respect. But then again, they don't like farming at all. So if you support your dairy farmers, then they wouldn't be a good choice. I'm animal welfare, but obviously I understand the reality of we can't stop everything happening. We can only do our very best to lead by promoting compassion and empathy to animals. If, for instance, sake, you are really big on environmental issues, I might not come first. You might prefer the Greens, I might come second. That's up to you. But remembering there's a couple of bucks in it, and anyone that knows me, I've been investing my time and money into the area for a long time. And so any money that I may end up getting beyond what I've spent would be invested back into the community. But we're not here to talk about me, sadly. So that's how you have to vote in the lower house. You have to do that. In the upper house, for the Senate, you have quite a lot of choices. A staggering amount. Not as many as usual because they changed the rules and made it very hard for the minor players to compete. I would like to have run in the upper house for the Senate, but the cost to me and the amount of signatures and everything else I need would be nearly impossible. The rules now are that you vote, you number in sequence 1 to 6 above the line or 1 to 12 below the line. There is a saving provision that's been put into legislation which does recognise only 1 above the line. If you so wish to do that, that would be counted this year. It may not be next time. There are very many choices. I'll go through them very briefly and see if I can assist you, but really it's something you need to do. The A box is for the Mature Australia Party. I don't know them. I tried to ring them and talk to them. They were meant to ring me back. They didn't. You've got Australian Labor Party. I don't need to say much there. You'll be seeing on TV the two leaders going head to head constantly. The big problem with that is that either of those leaders may not be there a week after you elect them. So you need to look at the Labor Party policy. Or maybe look at what they've offered in the past and haven't come through with, or whether you think they've been legitimately representing the best interests of the country. The Arts Party, I don't know them either. You'd have to look into it. The Greens, you know the Greens. I'm not a fan of the Greens. I must admit, it doesn't hurt to have a Green in the upper house. Australian Cyclist Party, I don't know them either. Nick Xenophon team, I'd like to see Nick in the Senate. I don't want to see his second runner in the Senate. So I'd be putting them, when I mark my ballot paper, I'll put them last. I don't really want to see more than one Xenophon team member in the Senate. You may choose to put them as your number 1 of 6. Now you can go more than 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to yourself. Australian Progressives, I don't know them either. You'll have to do some research. Liberals, we all know what Liberals stand for. Palmer United Party, Palmer's party's basically defunct. I thought Palmer was pulling out. I personally, for that reason, won't be supporting them at this stage. Motoring Enthusiast Party, Nathan Green, top guy. Really good bloke. If someone was to fluke their way in again, Nathan would be someone I'd have a lot of faith in. Liberal Democrats. I don't always get on with Liberal Democrats. They put Michael Nowak second. I have no idea why. Michael's a really good guy. I think Liberal Democrats have a place for their libertarian measures, and I think that's a voice in the Senate that's worthy. Vote Flux. I don't know much about them. I think it's online democracy, online voting. I think we'll have a place one day. Christian Democrat Party, Fred Nile group, been around a long time. You can make your own decisions. Family First, I think Family First have a place in the upper house. Bob Day's a good bloke. I'll include him myself with my vote. Not based on party policy, based on me knowing Bob, and that even though Family First for a lot of people are religious based, I think there's a small place still for them in politics. Pauline Hanson's One Nation. Pauline's not running here. I've always respected Pauline for who she is, to be honest. I've not always thought she's very good at sharing her agenda, but Steve, that's running, Steve Burgess, is a good guy, so I'd probably include them. Marriage equality. Look, if that's extremely important to you, you might want to tick their box, put a number in one of your numbers in their box. I don't know them either. Shooters, fishers and farmers. I'm a sporting shooter. I do have some respect. I've worked with some of their guys in the state. I don't particularly know the guys on here. Marijuana Hemp Party and Sex Party United. Well, we could have some fun with that one. I don't like the Sex Party. I've always supported the hemp debate because there's a lot of applications of hemp beyond just personal use, and there's medical use and industrial use, so you have to make your own decision there. Australian Liberty Alliance, once again, I'm not really up to scratch with them. I believe that they are probably pushing, they seem to be playing the race card a fair bit. I'm not a fan of increased immigration. In fact, I think we could claw it back a little bit while we have homeless people in this country, but I'm not sure if that approach will suit everybody. But if you are a supporter of, and I suppose a terrible thing to say, if you are anti-Muslim, that would be a party that you choose. Darren Hinchin's Justice Party, I've got to give him the big points for the anti-pedophilia. I'm not sure of the candidates that he's running here. I haven't met them, so that makes it a bit harder. Animal Justice Party, personally I'll leave them off, only because I think they're too far. They lean too far towards wanting to abolish any aspect of dealing with animals completely. I love the idea of improving animal welfare and teaching compassion and empathy when it comes to the treatment of animals. And just maybe one day I'll start sliding towards becoming vegetarian, but I think they take a stronger approach to that and would want to shut down dairy farms and things like that. And that's what they told me this week. And their preference for Labor makes no sense to me, because there's lots of people in between Labor and them that they could have preferenced if that was generally about animal welfare. Voluntary Euthanasia Party, I think single parties like this where they have a single agenda, I'm not sure how they would work once they got thrown into the mix. So you'll have to make a decision based on that. Citizen Electoral Council, been around a long time. I was reading their stuff 20 years ago. They have some really good concepts for moving forward 50 years into the future. And so, you might want to have a read up about them. I don't know the guys here. And then you have what we call ungrouped candidates. They're candidates that can only be voted for if you vote below the line. I've always been put off by that fact, and I've always been put off by the fact that if I ran for the Senate with a friend, which I've done before with my wife, and I get a blank box above the line, it's the Senate's pushing to get rid of all these smaller players. So I think maybe you need to send a special message to our politicians that we're a bit sick of that, and we really do need freedom. I mean, democracy, if you understand the word, is demos kratos, which means people rule. So the concept really should be that you are informed as to who your choices are, and you have that freedom to preference only those you do prefer. And of course the Senate has been changed, but it wasn't changed to benefit you, it was changed to benefit a double dissolution election. And I'd just like to say one other thing that's very important, that the two-party system, as we've called it for years and years, has been about empowering the major parties, and I think they need to be punished for that. I don't think that, they say they've altered the Senate voting to make it more democratic. Well, then why do you have to preference everybody in the lower house? Why do you have to preference me if you don't like me? And I've said to people at forums in the past that if you don't like me and don't want to vote for me, it's a good reason to vote for me, because I will actually, that sounds silly, I actually oppose the fact you have to. So when you go to vote, there's lots of decisions to make. One of the things you've got to be aware of is that we also don't just have a two-party system and a two-party media and a two-party polls and so on. We also have two-party counting. So, and I'll try and explain how that doesn't work very well for us, because if you had 4 candidates and there were 100 voters and people were sort of split pretty evenly, and you had the vote count at the end that was 24, 25, 26 and 27, for instance sake, just to be rough, the person with 24 votes is the one that's taken out and his votes redistributed. Now the problem is that person with 24 votes may well have had the second preferences from all the voters. So the person it's not a popularity contest, it's not chosen on popularity, it's chosen in such a way, in terms of the way the counting's takes place. It's been counted that way because they've known for a long time that Labor and Liberal will always have that slightly higher vote. And what's happened for many years in the Senate is that us minor players will get together, we work together a little bit and try and get 1 or 2 independent voices in. They changed the Senate voting, and Xenophon pushed for that as well, is because they don't want minor players in there. And that's interesting because Xenophon himself got elected by working with groups like myself to get preferences back when he first got elected. And then since then, he's always preferenced the major parties. So he hasn't tried to get more independent thinkers in there to work with him. He's wanted to be the independent thinker in there. And as much as I respect some of Nick's work, I think that it's the wrong thing to do to undermine the rest of the minor players and try and take the whole cake for yourself. One of the other problems you'll note when you go to vote right now is that if you want to find out who these people are, is that the parties, all of the parties have told their candidates to be quiet, not to speak online, not to communicate in case they say something wrong. And I think that says a lot about how broken the system is, because if you're going to elect somebody and they can be told to shut up now, they might be told to shut up when it comes to voting on something important in Parliament that will empower you or your rights or your children's rights. So that's one of the reasons that so many people have decided that independents are a good choice, but most of the independents have been scared off by a system that works against them and a media that works against them. I know I've been in this game nearly 20 years, and it's you feel terrible because you try so hard and you invest your own money and time, and the whole system is against you. And so we do need to change the system. We've seen it change in England. We've seen England want to claw back its sovereignty, and I think that we should do the same. I think we can stand alone. We should be self-sufficient in how we grow our food. We need to improve our rights and liberties, and we need to improve our social services, and we don't seem to be doing that. So have a look at what the parties stand for, cast the most informed vote you can, take a pen with you to the polling booth. There's been a lot of talk about pencils. Well, over the years I've seen some things that would make me take a pen, so I would suggest you too. So go along, don't look at the how to vote cards, don't look at the media, don't listen to the news services. There are more than 3 choices, and the people are supporting the minor players now, so you can do that too. Don't think that the majority are all going, oh, I love Labor, I love Liberal, I love Nick. That's not the case. It's not the case at all. The only people that want you to think that are people that want to control what happens in this country, and the media are one of the biggest players in trying to decide who you vote for and how you vote, and they have their own ulterior motives for doing that. So make sure you vote with the heart, that you vote properly, and that if you find someone that you really care for, or you think there's a message out there that's important, share it on social media, and try and make this. This will be an election where we bring change, and it may not be an election where people like myself get in and suddenly make a big difference, but it may be an election where Labor and Liberal and some of these players get such a minor vote, and so many people vote away from them, that when we come to the next election and during the year, they might make some changes in how they represent the people. Or maybe they'll just come down to the grassroots where I am and get out there and meet the people and find out how tough it really is out there for small businesses and for our farmers and producers, and bring some change with them in their thought pattern. So that's my overview. I'll now turn the video off and come back later, and you might find some videos where I raved on what a great person I am. Thank you.